Welcome to Mythic Folds. My name is Joe and I'm going to teach you my design of Rodan. So as you can see, Rodan can appear in two different ways. It can be a double colored Rodan or it can be single colored. For this tutorial, we're going to fold a double color Rodan so you can see how the double color takes effect. I'm using a phone too, so when we get to the smaller folds, I'm going to zoom in. So let's take a look at the colors here. The color appears in front of Rodan, and the white appears on the back of Rodan. If you want the white to be on the back, then start with your white side up. Let's take your square sheet of paper, fold it in half diagonally, unfold, and what you're going to do now is cut off this line, and you're going to be left with a triangle sheet of paper. So we're actually folding Rodan from a triangle that's easily cut off from a square. So let's fold our square in half. Unfold and bring these two corners to the top. And now bring the two corners to the bottom. And fold the square in half. Unfold. Let's turn it over. Rotate. Fold in half. And notice I allow this flap to stick out. Unfold. And we're going to fold in half again. Remember to let this flap stick out. Unfold. And we're going to follow all of these lines by compressing them. And it should take the shape of a preliminary base with the added bonus of flaps sticking out. Now let's perform petal folds. So to do that, we're going to fold like this. We call these angle bisectors. Unfold and follow these lines, and they will push the flap inward. And if you're a little unfamiliar with this, you could leave this flap like a kite and just raise the flap up. Now let's do the petal fold again on this side. And if you are familiar with this, you can just go ahead and just raise the flap up. So this is the base for Rodan. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare this color changing base with the single color version. And the reason for that is we need to tell the difference between these two flaps. Which one's going to be the head and which one is the tail. So for double color, it's easy. Like I said, if you chose the white to be the back of Rodan, this white flap will be the tail. And you just fold it down. And that would leave the colored flap to be the head. And you just leave it up. Now, if you're using a single color, the way that you can tell between the head and the tail is, let me zoom in for this. Okay, that should be good. If there's 2 layers only, that's your tail, and you can fold that down. And if you see 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, that's your head, and you leave the flap up. Okay. I'm going to leave this zoomed for a majority of the time now because now, well, the paper is pretty small and we're going to work on small details. But I want to increase the sharpness. So let's continue with the double color version. We're going to angle bisect the edges of the diamond. Yeah. Remember, this is the head. And the tail flap is lying down. Now we're going to perform swivel folds. So right along that edge, push this flap down, and it will begin to crimp when you flatten it. And as for the rest of this fold, it will stop a little midway, like that. And then you're going to do it again on this side. There. So majority of the time you're going to perform what's called rat folds. So this is a really good example. When you finish the swivel, you stopped midway and you had to guess where midway was. So when I say rat, rat stands for right about there. So it's the same way of calling it, of guessing how far you want the fold to be. So we're going to encounter a rat fold again in just a few moments. We are going to pleat the legs now. So fold this down along the edge and pinch. You're only pinching. And bring these corners, these tips to the pinch. And now we're going to perform the rat fold, because the second part of the pleat would be to bring the tips down. But how far do you want them to go? There's no reference point. Rodan has long legs, so bring them down so the triangle piece of the legs are long enough. Okay? And we're going to do swivel folds. So starting from this corner of the wing, bring this top edge to the bottom edge, and then the rest will fold all the way to the tip. There. Now let's do that again. Okay. Let's turn it over. Let's focus on color changing the tail over here. So we are going to open up both layers all the way through and squash. And you're going to fold along those lines. Okay, so that creates the color change of the tail. Now for a single color sheet, you don't have to do this step for this one because it's single color. You don't need to do all of that. You can just go for single color, you can just go straight to this next step here, which is this. Fold the corner of this kite shape behind. And it's going to run from this corner to this corner. As much as you can. Okay, now let's focus on making the wings edgier. That will form his arms, basically. You're going to fold this edge into this pocket here, and they're going to touch these corners. So they'll touch the corners, and as for the rest of the fold, they're going to stop midway. So once again, this is a rat fold. You're guessing how far you want the folds to go. All right. So from here, let's fold Rodan in half. And as you can see, I rotated it. So he's in a flying position now. Or in this case, the whole model is horizontal. Fold the wings down. Now let's focus on the tail. We're going to inside reverse fold this tail. As much as you can. So it's going to run from this corner to that corner. All the way through. Now let's raise the wings up so they're flat. And you want to squash the tail. So open it, flatten the bottom, and then squish the rest of it. So Rodan's tail should be squished in a kite shape. And now let's make the kite thinner by folding these corners backward. Okay. Now let's crimp the arms of Rodan by making a pinch. It will stop close to the edge and make another fold at the end of the pinch. So once again, rat fold. Pinch and another pinch. Let's focus on his legs. You're going to do 2 inside reverse folds. So open up the layers in between and reverse fold. Let me show you this view. Okay. That's one. And then through this layer, through this space, you do another reverse fold. There. Now let's do that again. One. Two. Okay. Make sure that he's able to stand a little bit because Rodan can stand. And you can be comfortable putting him in a flying position too if you want to. Now let's finish with his head. So what you can do is you can measure how long you want long or short the neck to be. Rodan has a history of long and short necks, so I like to go in between. So now that you completed the rest of his body, here when you do the head, you can adjust the swivel that you did earlier. So if you feel like it's too long, you can shorten it a little bit. And that's just about good enough. So now along that edge, inside reverse fold. And remember, this flap is thick. So when you do the reverse fold, it's going to seem pretty thick to do. So as best as you can along the edge. And along this edge, do another inside reverse fold. Okay. And we're going to do crimp folds to make the horns. So I'm going to do this from an upward position. You want to push these 4 layers together like puckering lips, and then fold in the direction of the body. And that forms his horns. And all that's left is his beak. You're going to do 2 outside reverse folds. So I'm going to open this a little bit. The first outside reverse fold. And then a second outside reverse fold. This is the last rat fold that you have to perform because you want to determine how short or long the beak is. And you're going to finish it off by folding the corners down, and that will shape his horns. And then you can make his beak edgier, and that's it. This is your completed Rodan. Shape it when you're done. He should be able to stand. If not, see, I can actually raise his tail down a little bit so, see, he can stand. Okay, or if you want to let him fly, you can put him in a flying position. Okay, let me let him stand and pose for the final shot. So thank you for joining me for this tutorial of Rodan, and I will see you next time on Mythic Folds.